Yeah, speaking of Lone Star, so when Emerson won, the entire Lone Star team was there to congratulate him. And it got me thinking about disc golf teams in general
Hmm.
because, I mean, manufacturers have teams, but they're really just an eclectic assortment of players who they think is going to be able to sell plastic for them. You know,
Hmm.
what Brody Smith or Anthony Barella doesn't affect what Paul Macbeth does on the course. There's no actual like team play. So I was
Yeah,
wondering your opinion on disc golf
sure.
teams and having the team congratulate you after a win when really it's an individual sport. He just beat all of them. They should be like not salty about it, but it's like, man, I should have done better. But instead they're like, I knew you could do it. Like we're almost
Well,
like a family vibe.
It helps first off to be the underdogs,
Hmm.
right? That puts you in a definitely different mindset. I will tell you a quick funny story about that because about 5 years ago, MVP. Uh, this is in 2015, so I'm going back 8 years now. MVP was already making fantastic discs,
Hmm.
and I was only throwing MVP at this time. And it was they were doing some stuff to sponsor my Blue Power events, and I love Brad and Chad. They're great guys. I toured their factory, and I was throwing all their discs, and they were kind of an outcast type of company. They were the nerdy company. The MVP fans that would go out to the course would they would get grief out at the golf course
Right.
for carrying these discs. It might all be in fun, but it was a universal sentiment that every MVP person. But that kind of pushed them into a corner where they felt this camaraderie between themselves. They were the outcasts, right?
Hmm.
And I was the very first player to win an A-tier tournament throwing MVP discs. I won the Cedar Creek Open in Minnesota
Heck yeah.
uh, by 12 strokes.
Take
And
that, Simon.
what?
Take that, Simon.
No, this was uh, yeah. So this is right after 2015 Worlds. I went out to the Cedar Creek, won by 12 strokes, and played really really well throwing MVP discs. Right, and this was the most telling thing about this community was that I went immediately after I won. I went to the MVP boards, and it was already lit up about it.
Hmm.
But every single post on there was, "We won an A-tier. We won." We very few people were even mentioning that it was me. It
Right.
was we won, and it was like, wow, this is a community because my win was viewed as we won.
Right. A win for the gyro
It
knots.
was a win for us. Look, our discs are good because we just won an A-tier. And I was like, these guys are onto something. This is a fan base that it was the most loyal fan base in the sport. It was
Hmm.
small, but the most loyal. So, anyways, I mean, Lone Star is kind of going to be that in that role for a little bit until they win, a bunch more and they become, big dogs. Like they probably will be
Right.
their company. But the other interesting thing about the team thing was that back in 1995, there was basically Innova and Discraft. Innova sponsored some players, Discraft sponsored some players. Sponsoring players meant you get a box of discs once a year or a discount on discs. I mean, it was
Hmm.
very loosely based. And I was with Discraft, and I actually had my own deal with Discraft. I was actually getting a salary, and I was actually doing well. And I went to Jim Kenner at Discraft. Well, we were very close. He was like a father to me at the time. But I approached Jim. I said, Jim, we should start the Discraft team. And back then there was no social media, and a lot of people, and we saw this because it was really easy to track disc sales back then because there was so little disc sales in the sport, right? Like 900 courses in the country or in the world. Whatever pro in that region, whatever they threw, that's what people in that region threw. Remember, there's no social
Right.
media. So all you had was, that player wins every tournament in Iowa. That's what everybody in Iowa throws. So I went to Jim and I said, hey, Jim, we need to get players in every single region, and include Europe and Asia too. We had a player in Japan, Hikari. And I I said, let's get and let's form a team. You know, we got Brad Schick in Ohio, and we got Mike Sayre in Texas, and we got Timmy Gill in Minnesota. And at the time, we had Bamba and Steve Rico in California, and we just had players everywhere. And we kept it hush hush. And when we announced it, we announced we have all these sponsored players. This is the Discraft team, and we treated it like a team. Because at the time, Innova was the big dogs. I mean,
Right.
I guess they still are the biggest company, I believe. But at the time, Innova was the big guys, and Discraft was we were trying to play catch up, and we felt that role. And we absolutely were rooting for each other. Like, there was no animosity between us. I mean, we were when one of us won, we were happy. That's why if you look at the 1999 World Championships, when Ron Russell won, like, the entire team carried him down the fairway on our shoulders.
Right.
Like, it was a win for the team. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a win for Ron. And I wish
Right. Yeah.
and I wish it had been me instead, obviously. But I was still happy for Ron. I was happy for Jim Kenner at Discraft and the team. So yeah, that's what kind of started the team thing. I mean, there was nothing like it before I started that.